players and softball has 15 players. We have a home base. Yes, we have home baseball and softball tournament over spring break that you can come and watch some games in LeGrand. And then track has 36 participants, and their annual Pepsi invite will be on April 4th. So, and then the third is the junior high event. I also think it's pretty exciting. Just for your information, we are hosting districts this year for high school golf, which I think is fantastic. And I don't know all the details, but I know that is, something that Chris has talked to other coaches about and done some work to get it here. It's been in Baker for a long time. And so it's really exciting, I think, that we get to have a chance to host that tournament to show off our community and our course to the whole district.
Cool.
Yeah, and just be on a different course, and there's more to it than that, but in short, it's very exciting that we're gonna be here for districts. So,
Nice job, Chris.
yes.
Putting that down.
It's chosen suffering, right?
Ask us when it's over.
Okay, that's fair.
But yes, it's great.
Okay.
And then middle school track begins next Monday, the 16th. So we're excited for them to get going. And then I've got a note here about something that will come up in a little bit, but our volleyball coach, but did it get added here?
Yes, it's added on action items.
Okay.
It's just handwritten.
Oh, okay, perfect. Then I can say that comment until then, if you'd like.
Okay. I think it's fair to say right now, because the other one isn't an action. Well,
So just, we've got our head volleyball, high school volleyball coach resigning, and so James and I just have the philosophy that if we're gonna replace what we would consider the head of the entire program, we need to just clean the whole house out and let our newly hired head coach be a part of the hiring process for anyone else that's gonna be a part of the program. And so anyway, that would include a high school assistant coach, Ellie Clark in this case, and then our middle school head coach, Brooklyn Lunny.
Yes.
Looney, thank you. Yes. Okay. So anyway, so those and those individuals have been informed. So that's where we're at. We'll be starting with the hiring of a head coach and then fill those other positions afterwards.
very nice. Good plan. Any questions, comments for Joe?
Yeah, the Ember girls that wanted to play softball and changed their minds.
Yes, it wasn't so much about them changing their minds. It was really more to do with, so what happened is if we included Imbler and or Elgin, what would happen is that we would then become a 3A program. And the way it works with OSAA is if we want to change into a new league, that's a special district, that district has to accept us.
Oh,
And they said, not this close to the season, we're not interested in taking a new team
Oh,
to our district. And so they rejected us, which means if we would have allowed those kids to play, we can still play a season and 5 games, but then it disqualifies us from all
oh,
posting competition and, it makes us an independent schedule and team. And so we decided in the interest of kids being able to have competition, we'll step away from that.
And I think those kids are co-oping, I think those schools are now co-oping with LeGrand. So those students are going to be able to play softball this
Okay.
year, but it's just LeGrand instead of.
oh, the LeGrand accepted them to.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
because it wouldn't have bumped
It
them.
won't change their class.
It won't bump them to another class. Yeah.
So the good news is the kids are still going to be able
They're gonna get to
to.
play.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice. Any other comments, questions for Joe? Terrific. All right, thank you very much, and you can stay if you'd like, or you can move. Your
I
choice.
do have some other commitments tonight, but I just want to make sure it's okay that I'm not here if you read Madison's
Yeah.
letter of resignation, so,
We are fine.
okay, all right. Thank you. I appreciate all of your support. Thank you.
We'll remember. Take your hat off.
Yeah, yes, sir.
I'm
still not able to A little of my rebellion remains. Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.
All right, Carter, you're up.
Okay, so we have 181 students overall in the high school right now, which is good compared to this time last year. We have Teacher Access Day this week, this Friday. The end of the quarter is the end of next week, spring break, and then conferences. And this is the time of year where you just kind of hang on, because there's something around every corner. And so that's good. We've had a couple of suspensions. You know, there was a behavior out of school suspension that we dealt with. We've had some detentions, but that's mostly related to attendance. And then our eligibility is up a little bit. And I don't know if that's just because we're like in the middle of the semester, you know, and towards the end of the semester, it starts to fade off and those kids bring their grades up. But I would say the Bobcat Den and Rondi and Shay's work and Jesse's work on all of this, and Chris, I mean, we bring in probably about 30 to 40 kids into the Bobcat Den, spill out into the main hallway, and are basically working with kids to try to get, you're missing a journal, Mark, you know, like that kind of thing. And so it is a lot of work. It's a lot of extra effort, but I think it's good. And then graduation is moved back to 10 a.m. because last year it was a conflict with state track. And so that's back to 10 a.m. instead of 1 p.m. So put that down on your calendars. And I'll probably ask you next month who wants to be there and who wants to hand out stuff. So I'm just planting the seed. Couple of other things that I want to talk about. I have the quote for the camera installation, and I've given that number to Mindy so she can add that to the budget, the cameras that we talked about in the gymnasium, in the hallway of the gym. I have that quote. I've had that quote updated. Mindy knows that. Since we've established internet down here, we had cabling run to the front of the building here, and we're going to install a camera out there. And that I have a quote for that as well. These are things we're going to do over the summer, but I just want you to know I'm going to be including them in the budget for next year. So that's a couple things. I have the 2 open positions right now, which is high school science and K-12 music. Those jobs have been open. I've received multiple applications at this point. I'm excited to say that we're looking at maybe 3 music candidates already.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's good. The other side, I mean, now to go a little negative, and the word is out. I've had conversations with multiple people. Our elementary numbers, 7 years ago, we ended up with 35 kindergartners. They're now in 6th grade. Okay, those numbers are going into the high school. We made all those adjustments last year for this because we knew they were coming, and that was one of my big pushes last year, was create a master schedule that's going to solve my 42 6th graders coming in the following year. We did all that. Okay, but when you exit 42 kids and we only have 16 signed up for kindergarten right now, that in my mind, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, I'm looking at roughly that's 24, 25 kids, and at $8,000 roughly per kid. If you do the math on that, that's $200,000 that we're not going to generate out of the elementary school that we would have this year. So we have to start tightening our belt down there. That's not fun to do. And so I've started those conversations with those people that potentially could be affected. And so there's going to be some domino effect to that. And that's my job. And those are hard, awkward conversations with tears and those kinds of things, but we have to make some adjustments. And so that we don't have an exact number. And Mindy said she would probably have something for me by the end of April. something like that before we go into,
In the spring break.
okay, the end of March. Sorry, I've already jumped ahead to April. So that being said, it's frustrating because we've done a great job of building something up, right? But, you know, we had 35 go into the high school this year, and then we're gonna bring in 42 into the high school next year. So we have to start looking, and most of our money that we spend is on people. So it's not fun, but that is, I'm trying to be transparent, and I'm trying to be upfront, and I'm trying to have those conversations with people now. And so then once we know what that number is, we know what we have to do. And so it's very frustrating, but I want to be transparent about it. The final thing is due to the city administrator resigning, they kind of dropped the ball on the communication with this piece of property over here. And so I finally did get a hold of the land use planner. Her name is Jean. I cannot pronounce her last name, so I'm not even going to try. But she is taking it on and picking this up. And so what she is doing is she's going back to the meeting that I went to. And originally I wanted to do the tiny home, right? And they said no. And I said, okay, that's fine, no tiny home, but can I turn this into residential, and can, you know, I break it away from the complex? And so that was approved from the planning commission. Now it's got to go to the city council, but this lady has to write the report, and it has to appear in city council type, I guess, jargon. And so then once that happens, it probably won't be until the April or the May meeting, then we'll know more. But I knew that was something we had talked about. I didn't want you to feel like I dropped the ball. I think it had to do with the city administrator resigning, lack of communication to whoever is the new person. But I finally got through to somebody that's helping me. And so that ball is still rolling. It's just taking a lot longer than I thought it would. And the one thing I've learned in my job is I have to be patient. And so, but other than that, I mean, you can see there's like lots of little things going on. And, you know, we have some new things that hoops that we have to jump through, but the assessments that we do use, iReady and STAR, those were approved. And so we can continue to do the assessments that we are doing. We don't have to change and create something new. But there might be something new that's out there that we like. And so anyways, I think for the most part, spring has sprung, and we're kind of ready for spring to get us all the way into summer. So I would happily answer any questions, but that's kind of the stuff. I'm sorry it's so doom and gloom, but I'd rather be transparent and not drop that on somebody.
Right.
At the last minute.
How's the cell phone policy going?
I don't think we have a lot of issues with it. I mean, we don't have as many phones in the office. And I would say, you know, some teachers are probably better about it than others, but you know, you're better at some things than I am. But I don't think it's like, I don't see them in the office like we once did. So,
Oh,
yeah,
good,
it's in my mind, it's a non-issue.
Good. And the other question I had, what did it cost us to get the internet down here?
Oh, boy, that was E-rate dollars. And
About $40,000 and we paid 80.
It cost us about 85.
yes. So, and the equipment that we have ordered for recording the board meetings is on some of it's on back order. And so hopefully we'll get it here quickly.
Yeah, I'm just on pins and needles.
Good.
I'm looking forward to having it. Good job.
Okay. All right.
I am not unpleased. Any other questions for Kevin? Comments? All right. Chris, tell us about the elementary.
As you can see, we have not had any adjustment with our numbers. The parentheses at the top should be 202. I forgot to change that, so the February numbers were 202 and we are currently still at 202. And then just a couple of things. We just finished up another Yolanda Westerberg training. This time around, we added our 7th grade English teacher. So, and we spoke with the 6th and 7th grade teachers. We talked about state assessment prep for the writing assessment and how to kind of prep kids over the next 6 weeks or so before we start that assessment. So that was some worthwhile training for those upper elementary teachers. And then our lower level teachers focused on narrative writing. So we're continuing that training and teachers are taking that and implementing it into their classrooms, which is nice. And again, that funding to have Yolanda come out and to get the substitute teachers, to have the teachers come to those 2-hour trainings is coming from our early literacy grant that we obtained a couple of years ago.
And she's coming to us, correct?
Correct.
Oh, nice, very
Yes. And then we have, this time around, we had 3 groups doing 2-hour training. And so those subs are rotating around. So this time we had 3 subs and covered some different things. So
nice.
trying to be effective with that. And then this afternoon, we had some individuals from the IMESD come in and give us a de-escalation training. And that's just talking about how to de-escalate kids, how to avoid conflicts, how to read a kid and try to identify that they're blowing up and give them space, or to get them out and get them to the den, or to prevent a conflict from happening. It was in place of our monthly staff meeting for our classified and our certified both attended as far as the elementary side. And whether they got something out of it was up to them, really. It was an opportunity for them to gain some information, to hear about it, to recognize that we're amping up into spring. And so we haven't had a chance to debrief about that. And to be perfectly honest, there were a couple of things that came out this afternoon and I missed the training with some stuff that happened after school today. And so from what I did hear, from a couple of people that were there, is it was, you got out of it what you put into it. And so we heard to hear. But we're giving teachers that opportunity to hear it, to talk about it, to see it. And then later, if there are problems, I can say, well, hey, what de-escalation skill did you use from that training? So that happened today. Conferences are coming up April 2nd and 3rd, like Carter said. We talked about this before, but we're hosting the Oregon Department of Forestry is coming out on April 14th to meet with our 1st, 2nd, and 3rd graders, to talk about fire safety.
Cool.
And then our annual PTA carnival is set for April 17th. And then we are hosting the first ever Union CHV funded Stress Less Day on April 29th at the Eastern Oregon Livestock Grounds. And that is a work in progress, but if you want to de-escalate your stress, that would be the place to be on April 29th. And then finally, there will be Raoul's and a petting farm. So, see? And then finally, on April 30th, we will have a family literature night. And if you attended that last year, that was had a camping thing. We were outside with the kids. Carter and I cooked a lot of hot dogs that night. And then, yeah, that is a tradition that we were hoping to duplicate. So that's coming up at the end of April.
Cool, that was a neat day.
Yep.
Thanks for including all of these dates of things to do and go see. Appreciate it.
Question on the checklisting, the Jug Sports for $7,000, like what is that? Man? I mean, I think I can assume what it is, but like balls and bats and things or what?
It was actually the backstop netting for the baseball field and the entire net for the batting cage.
Yeah. All right.
Good question.
Yeah.
That's just a lot. I think of money.
I had the same question. It's like, what? They need a new name. All right, any questions for Chris? Sounds like everybody's happy with that report. Thank you, Chris. We once again have no policy items. looking forward to when that all comes through. Information and discussion items. Mark, you were gonna see if you could find anything out about our field and that our.
Well, I did, the first thing that I found out was that the guy we had so much trouble talking to, it looks like he's selling it. And it looks like the folks living over there are the purchasers. And I lost their name,
Rickard.
Rick. And, I stopped by one day and talked to the missus and apologized for squatting on their land. And she received me very well, and we talked about several things. I would like to keep on talking to her, especially in the past on Earth Day or something, the kids have done stuff. Well, what I was wondering is if it would be all right to ask them what the school could do that day in the, like, cleaning up or whatever, what we can do to help.
Okay.
We talked a little bit about, their vision. I think she would like to tidy up this end and even like have a path along the ditch. Clean up and have a jogging, walking path. And we got a lot of free labor at school, we'll see what we can do, but we'll see what can happen. And I did mention a little bit about maybe having a place for kids to have their livestock. And nothing was set in stone or gone beyond just seed planted. So, what I believe you guys approve of this is to have a second talk. Maybe a little more serious this time and kind of do some more feeling out, see what we can do.
And I spoke with the dad,
Uh,
Chris, and I spoke with him on the phone this week. And I had kind of heard you talking about this, Mark, and Joe had mentioned something that he knew Chris or he had a relationship with him or something. And I said, hey, would you have him reach out to me when it's a good opportunity for him? He did. And what I explained to him is I said, the school just wants to be a good neighbor. We want to be a good neighbor to you guys, you know, and we know that we use that property. How can we establish some kind of relationship with you?
yeah.
And, you know, and, or what does that look like? And, you know, I know that, you know, maybe we maintain the area over here or something. And I think Mindy and I spoke about it. She said, well, maybe we put up a fence or something like that. And maybe we go down and clean it and things like that. And so I opened that door with
Good.
him. And so I said, I'm happy to be a good neighbor. I just want to be a good neighbor to you because I appreciate the use of that. Because it would be a mess down here if we couldn't park over there.
Oh, boy.
They're okay with us parking in there?
Oh, yeah, yes, that was mentioned specifically. They've
Okay.
got no problem with us parking.
Yeah. And so how do we be a good neighbor? How do we maybe establish it more of like, okay, this is where you park? So then, and put some kind of barrier up like Mindy was talking about, so that it prevents the kids from doing cookies out there and stuff like that. Those are some of the things that like, I tried to mention and say like, we're willing, let's have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
How can we, you know, work together?
Right.
So so hopefully as things progress with their purchase of the property, then, you know, where do we fit in that? I said, hey, you talk to your wife about it, you see what your vision is, and then you come tell us how we can be a good neighbor.
I got the feeling that the sale was pending or wasn't closed or it hadn't taken place yet. is what
Okay.
I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
So,
that's the impression I got too.
yeah. You know, it's real personal to ask why or how come, so. we'll
Yeah, no,
Let that run.
yeah. And so I think we've established that connection, and now we have somebody that we can talk to about how do we become a good neighbor.
Yeah.
So, as a board, I would like to say, continue conversations that you're having, and as a
Okay.
school district, certainly to continue, especially as spring approaches here, and we've got some big events, maybe we can ask if they would like to see the baseball and softball schedule, so they could see when home things were, when we've got that giant track meet, maybe reach out and just say, hey, thank you for allowing us to continue to park. And, would these be helpful to you or something like that? Just again, trying to be good neighbors and not be trespassers with all of our vehicles. So that they know
Yeah.
what's coming.
That's easy.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Anybody else comments? Thank you, Mark, for approaching that, and Carter as well for thinking of this, because it definitely is going to be necessary.
Yeah. What, was I sleeping or did we skip Mendes? report?
Oh, I did. I skipped Mindy's. I'm sorry. I don't know what it is. I'm in a hurry. Mindy,
We
would you,
don't really have anything to say.
I'm sorry. I am. I looked at the checks. Does that count? Okay, beginning balance update. Is that something we need to do?
You don't need to do anything other than, I looked at it, I look at it often, but I looked at it again, and we're hovering around the expected $3.1 million going into next year. But 1.8 of that is already committed into that budget, so that number is dwindling if you subtract that from 3.1. So, that's why we'll be talking about some reductions.
Okay.
Okay. And I was asking earlier if anybody had gotten their SEI email, and I have not received it, but I did receive another one, so it should come to probably your personal emails. I would think in the
I
near
haven't
future.
seen mine either, and
Okay.
both Mr. Wells and I get them as well.
Okay,
I,
okay, so, but they should be coming, I would think, soon. The latest legislature just finished up their business. Was there anything of budget
there's some
stuff that came out of
slightly
that?
good news, to be honest. Mr. Wells, I'm sure has a eye on it. Well, keep quiet.
You want me? You can go ahead.
Okay.
I mean, the state school fund, what we know from is not being reduced. Some of the things that they did reduce was like safe route to schools. They had $17 million in safe route to schools, which is what we did to put these sidewalks in around the field and all that stuff. So that $17 million is going in to backfill for the general fund to stay at what it is, what they said. So our general fund is, consistent in the state. However, we're looking at 16 kindergartners and we're looking at, 25 seniors. And so that's less revenue for us because we would have less kids. So that's part of, before when we went through the big cuts, there was less students and there was less revenue. It was like the double-edged sword. This is, we would just have the one less revenue.
There is one other factor going into that, and that is our teacher experience rating is drastically swinging back. That, you can't do a thing about that. That is people retire, and you generally hire people with less experience than the statewide average. We have absolutely no control over that. We still hire the best people we can find for the jobs. But it is now costing us $38.50 per student in next year's budget, as opposed to gaining us $25 a student where we were this year. So that's making us $80,000 impact or so.
Okay.
Things like that are happening outside of our control, but something to have your eyeballs on.
Okay,
And the legislature did not backfill with any rainy day funds. All of that was the big talk. Like, remember in the fall, it was, hey, we're gonna reduce this year by 5%. Then we got into winter and it was, oh no, we're fine for this year. We're gonna use rainy day funds. And now we didn't use rainy day funds. We made K-12 education whole. And so there's still rainy day funds available for the next biennium.
but as we head into next year, the second half of our biennium, we're still looking okay, those funds are still intact.
Yes,
Okay.
and so when I do the math on the state school fund estimates, I take into account what our teacher experience rating is going to do, because I know, but they don't yet. That report comes out shortly and they'll apply it in December of next year. And so they're gonna pay us as if we have the larger number of students. And they're going to pay us as if our teacher experience rating is still higher until December, when it all catches up. So I never budget that higher number. I always budget what I really think it's gonna be. And I really think that if my numbers are somewhat correct, we will receive somewhere between $35,000 and $50,000 more next year than we did this year, due to all those reductions, which our settlement with our unions alone takes up more than that.
Yeah.
And so that cuts back into your cash, along with some other things that we can reduce. You know, we bought the heater for the gym. There's some reduction there to make the budget balance. But when you're spending $460,000 a month and you're taking in 360, that money has to come from somewhere.
Right,
So,
okay,
and an increase in revenue of $35,000 isn't very much.
mhm,
So
okay,
it's not our first time though. We got this.
Yeah.
There's reduction to be made
mhm,
to make the budget. It's just unfortunate that we're at a point where some of those reductions involve the humans.
right, we'll have to be people
Mhm.
at this point.
Yep.
Okay, other questions for Mindy? And again, I apologize, Mindy, I don't know. Your name it's got a whole bunch of stuff after. it.
I'm not hurt by that.
Oh, okay, well, I apologize anyway. All right. Moving on, we are open budget committee position.
If anyone knows anyone, we still have one position open. We can't operate that way according to state law. But obviously, we would like to have that filled if we can think of anyone who might be interested.
And I see let's see, it's the budget meeting
Well,
thingy.
we
for the
made
what?
this calendar and we handed this out. It does meet all of the publication deadlines, although I need to talk to the East Oregonian and make sure that they can still publish our documents on the dates that I have. And I put the dates on the calendar, but I haven't called them yet to make sure they can still do that. And then, to bring it to your attention, that June 10th board meeting is the Wednesday of stock show. I don't know how that affects anybody here. Really besides me. I'll be largely on vacation that week, but I can be at the meeting.
You want to move the meeting to the following week?
No, not just for me. No, we all have lives. I have to figure out.
Well, I would guess Macy will be busy. Is anybody?
I'm delivered by 6. I'll be with you.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll be here.
nobody else, okay, all right. Okay, then we'll leave her as such for right now, anyway. And then the rest of these are first meeting is May 12th, and that's one we all need on our calendars, correct?
Yep.
And then the next night is our regular board meeting. correct? I mean, we go,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah.
Tuesday, Wednesday that week. And then the June board meeting. So there's just one extra meeting in there.
And I would assume that we would meet at the same time as the board meeting, 6 p.m.
Okay.
I just,
Anything else on information and discussion? Let's move to action items. We have we just discussed the budget calendar, so I would say as calendared, assuming that these can all be advertised appropriately, we would need a motion.
I move we approve the budget calendar.
Second.
Uh, In favor or opposed? Deb,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
and I for me as well. Passes. And approve license contract extensions. Carter, can you give us a rundown? on that?
that's, you guys have the list that came with the,
Agenda.
yeah. And so there's a few teachers that are probationary on there. And those are all listed in the top section. And then the contract teachers are listed in the next section. So, and Chris and I have done, the observations and evaluations, and Chris says this all the time, that like, you would compare your lineup to anybody in the valley? Was that your quote, Chris?
Yeah, I'll take my lineup and put it up against anybody else in the valley.
And I feel the same way. And I feel like our hiring practices of getting a teacher into the classroom and watching them teach prior to them being employed here is a huge, huge thing. It's very cumbersome when we put the interview panels together, and that's a lot of work in the back end, but it pays off in the end. And I can see that. I can see that in these individuals and what they're doing in the classroom. So I have nothing but great things to say.
And probationary are first 2 years, correct?
Yep.
And then after the first 3 years, you become a contract.
Yep.
Well, I will then move to approve the contract extensions for our license.
A second.
All right. Deb, in favor or against? For a vote?
In favor?
Aye.
And I for me as well. All of our licensed teachers are renewed. And sadly, we have a coaching resignation. Received this. Dear James Frutag and Joe Shaw, I'm writing to formally resign from my position as head volleyball coach. This decision was not easy, as coaching this team has been one of the most rewarding experiences of my career. However, after thoughtful consideration, I believe it is the right time for me to step down and focus on personal growth and career development. I am incredibly proud of the growth, dedication, and sportsmanship of our athletes. Our athletes have shown throughout my time here. It has been an honor to work with such a talented group of athletes and supportive staff. I am truly grateful for the trust you placed in me and for the opportunity to contribute to this program. I am committed to making this transition as smooth as possible. I will gladly assist with providing any necessary information to help the next coach step into the role successfully. Again, thank you for the opportunity to serve as head volleyball coach. I will always look back on my time here with gratitude and pride. This is a goodbye, but simply see you next time. Sincerely, Madison Elliott. So I guess we need a motion to accept that resignation.
I make a motion, we accept the resignation.
Whole second.
Okay. In favor, Deb, or and I as well for me. Passes unanimously. Future agenda items, April update on statistics of achievement for students. And again, that's our goals report on our district goals.
Yep.
So we look forward to that progress. Anything else for future agenda in April?
No, I should have thrown this out there during the discussion items. This is just random nitpicky thing. But so as a business person in town, I got a thing about donate money to the yearbook, which I'm going to do. But in the letter, it just like more or less explains what you're donating to. And then there's a return envelope, but there's no like place to put information about your business to hand in for the thing. Just something for the future, a suggestion, I guess. Because again, it gives you all the info on what you're donating to, but it doesn't give you like anything to fill out in your business if you would like it listed in the year. Just a suggestion.
Yeah, I'll talk to Jamie about it. It's good feedback.
Do you have a business card?
I do, not on my personal,
Right.
but
Do you want to pop one in?
sure. That's a good idea.
That make sure she gets.
Okay. Sounds good.
Any other discussion or future agenda items for April? Okay, well, it looks like we are going to head into executive session for evaluation of the superintendent, which means that Chris, you're off the hook, so you can go home. And everybody else gets to say, we will reopen the regular board meeting after the executive session in order to act upon what we talk about there. But I don't really think that would be. All right, we have adjourned our executive session that was evaluation of the superintendent. We are now calling our regular board meeting ORS 192.630 back to order. We have an action item, and that is contract extensions for our superintendent Carter Wells. Is there a motion
Yeah, I so move.
I'll second.
that we continue Carter's contracts? All right, we've got a second. Deb, in favor or not? And I'm also in favor. It's unanimous. We will see you at work tomorrow.
Thank you.
And there's no further discussion.
We, this one item here we didn't talk about, letter of concern, was that those guys?
That, I think that's an old agenda.
That was that last month?
No, that's this. That wasn't,
Oh,
And that was I addressed as the superintendent, and I have issued a letter to that individual, and it went out.
that's not a board concern.
No,
but it was addressed, letter was sent out to the parent.
and I addressed all the issues in the letter.
Nothing we need.
Not at this time. We originally put that on the agenda, then I reviewed it, and then we removed it from the agenda. And so I think you got the original copy of the agenda. Because I sought guidance on what can we do and what should we do,
Yeah.
and that was to issue a response of all of the things that you've done
Okay.
and what we've done. And if you want to come or you want me to email you that letter, or you want to
No,
come in and read it?
I'll come talk to you if I want
Yeah,
to pursue it.
okay.
But if you take care of it, we just hired you. So take care of it.
Got it.
All right, this meeting is adjourned at 7:50.
Gotta ask, when you did, so like, how do you evaluate the camera? You put a